Yo, Swift Karate Chop, Monkey Dude 1212 here. Just saying, I agree with your proof video. I think it's kind of creepy that I came up with the same thing like a year ago. Well, not really the same thing. Like you kind of put it in the perspective towards atheism and stuff like that. I kind of put them in the perspective of all other religions. Like I kind of shot down Catholicism and Buddhism and Judaism and stuff like that. Anyways, it's not important. The important thing is that I agree with you, and I just thought I'd say that. I'd like to drop off the idea that I had, which goes a lot along with what you had said. I call it the infinite why theory. It's also proof, as you would call it, to why we exist. I mean, you could take a simple question like, why is the grass green? And I mean, a scientist could come along and he'd be like, oh, well, it's full of chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is green. And I could be like, well, why is chlorophyll green? And then they'd be like, oh, well, chlorophyll has this molecular carbon compound structure, and that makes it green. And I said, oh, well, why is that compound carbon structure green? And then they'd go and they'd tell me stuff about the absorption spectrum and how, electromagnetic waves and whatever reflect and stuff, all the light stuff. They could break the science down to a million things, but eventually what it all comes down to is I'd keep asking why an infinite number of times, and they can never answer why it is exactly the way it is. They can't tell me why it's green over blue or red, and even if they do, they can't say why it's green instead of blue or red. Why isn't red and blue on the opposite ends of the spectrum? They can't answer why. I mean, there's just so many things to say, why is it that way? And I say it's because that's the way he wanted it to be. And they kind of say, well, that's a cop-out. Well, I say, well, it's the way I live my life. I mean, it's God, It's like, it's exactly like you described it. He could be sitting back with a bag of Doritos just kind of watching everything happen, I mean, like, people are definitely overanalyzing things. Like, someone asked me the other day, why can't I take pride in my work and stuff like that? And I was all like, why can't you take pride in your work? And they were all like, oh, well, pride's one of the 7 deadly sins. And I said, well, I don't remember reading the 7 deadly sins in the Bible. And they were all like, but you're not even Catholic. I was like, so I read the Bible. Anyways, I was like, so you haven't found the 7 deadly sins in the Bible? And they're all like, well, they took it from this scripture and that scripture, and they kind of, what I don't like people doing is jumping around in the Bible, making up their own little laws. I kind of went and I said to them, if you believe in the Bible, why are you looking at the 7 deadly sins? I mean, that's not it, like, if you believe that God is the right God, he was smart enough to lay down the 10 Commandments for you. He kind of said, guys, don't get the Bible wrong. Here's what it's for. Here's the 10 Commandments. Don't do these. And lo and behold, people made up the 7 deadly sins. It's retarded, I know. I mean, he told you what's wrong. Don't kill, don't steal, don't be thinking about doing your neighbor's wife, all that kind of stuff. And what I thought was kind of weird is if you go and you look at, Buddhism, Judaism, Islam, they all kind of think along the same lines. They just have different various rules. It's kind of creepy to me. I mean, they all don't want you to kill. Wonder why that is. Maybe it's because, someone up there gave us morals. Whether we got it right when we wrote the Bible, or whether we got it right when we wrote the Torah, or whether we completely have it wrong all here on Earth, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that he's up there. I mean, I agree with you fully that the fact that we can communicate like this through human ingenuity and, because we evolved from creatures and now we are the great brains that we are today, it doesn't really suffice to say that everything around us, the fact that it all exists, the fact that it is the way it is, there's got to be someone who created all this. There's got to be some great, powerful being that put this all into motion, It couldn't have just happened, like, cosmic coincidence, my ass. I'm not a sexy stud just because I'm a sexy stud. It's because I got someone to thank up there, that sort of thing. Like, yeah. Anyways, that's all I gotta say. I should probably cut this video short before it ends up being like 10 minutes long, We all know how hard that can be.